morning.
Good morning.
My name is Seher Kuhl, and I serve as President-elect on the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. It is my delight to welcome all of you here at UUCS and all of you who are joining us virtually. This is a welcoming congregation where everyone is welcome just as we each are. If you're visiting us for the first time today, we're happy you're here. Please fill out a visitor's card, which may be found in the pocket on the back of the chair in front of you, and place it in the offering plate during the service. We would love to meet you and share some information about the life of this congregation. There are many important announcements on the sheet titled Connect at the back of your bulletin. Please open your bulletin to see all that you can be a part of. This fall, our Mission Vision Covenant team will host another series of gatherings to work on the mission objectives that will guide us over the next few years. You can find information about these discernment meetings, including the dates, on the front page of the Connect. Now, a really important information, or a question really to everybody. Who likes ice cream? Okay. Perfect, looks like a lot of us do. So, because our first gathering is an ice cream social tomorrow, please check it out and come. If you do not like ice cream or have other commitments enabling you to attend tomorrow's gathering, please, please, please make plans to attend one of the other meetings, and especially the November 18th church-wide meeting, where we will determine our mission objectives. All of us have an idea of what we want this congregation to be. That is to say, we each have a vision for this congregation, and our many visions are not all the same. These meetings will help us align our many visions into a shared vision, reduce conflict by having shared purpose, and fuse our energy and gifts to enhance the life of this congregation for all of us. Please come. Thank you all for making this place of care and kindness for every one of us.
Good morning. I want to add good response. People are awake. I want to also add my welcome on this sunny and bright day. My name's Ruth Stanton, and I'm serving as your worship associate today. To light our chalice, we have a responsive reading from our gray hymnal, number 611. It's entitled Brahman, and it's from the Bhagavad Gita. I'll read the regular text, and then please respond by reading the text in italics together. I am the self that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. I am the beginning, the lifespan, and the end of all. I am the radiant sun among the light givers. I am the mind. I am consciousness in the living. I am death that snatches all. I also am the source of all that shall be born. I am time without end. I am the sustainer. My face is everywhere. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of creation. I am the knowledge of things spiritual. I am glory, prosperity, beautiful speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and forgiveness. I am the divine seed of all lives. In this world, nothing animate or inanimate exists without me. I am the strength of the strong. I am the purity of the good. I am the knowledge of the knower. There is no limit to my divine manifestations. Whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from a fraction of my power and glory. Now, please join us in hymn number 112 in the gray hymn book. And it is "Do You Hear?" And you are invited to stand. We have a tradition of sharing our joys and sorrows through the metaphor of the rippling bowl. The water in our bowl up here is still and flat right now. When we add a stone or a shell, it adds energy to the bowl that we can see as ripples. The stones and the shells we drop in can represent sorrows, and when those are shared with each other, they spread out and diminish. Or they can represent joys that when shared with each other can ripple out and increase our joy together. I invite you to come forward now to place either a stone or a shell in our bowl for the joys and sorrows on your hearts. And I will put in a stone or a shell for those of you joining us virtually.
They say there was a sacred chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, hallelujah. You say I took the name in vain, but I don't even know the name. But if I did, well, really, what's it to you? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter what you've heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I've done my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, but I tried to touch. I told the truth, I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Taffy. That
You're
was
welcome.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Our denomination doesn't have a creed to prescribe what we must believe, but rather a set of principles that we promote. And so a number of years ago, our congregation created a covenant to reflect on those principles and to describe how we want to be in the world in relationship with each other and the world in general. Please join me now in saying our covenant together. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of love beyond belief. We are so glad to be able to gather together for church, and we can share our gladness during this special time of greeting. As truly diverse people, all different kinds of folks here, some of us are exuberant greeters and some of us are more quiet. Please check in with those you are greeting for cues on how exuberant to be. We do want to respect each other's personal space. And it is fine to stay seated if you would prefer, and also wave or a bow can be great greetings. One more thing, when you hear Taffy start to play again, that is a reminder for us to turn to our seats. And may the greeting begin. almost made it back to our seats. Our church and its work are supported through the generous donations of our members and friends. This community is brought to life when all of us share our time, talent, and financial treasures. Many of you may have contributed electronically or at another time, but please add a blessing to the plate as it's passed. As part of our work, we share the plate with a different social justice organization every month. Half of the offering cash and any designated gifts will go towards that special organization. And our September recipient is the Converse University Valkyrie Supply. It's their student food and help pantry. Sadly, many college students struggle financially just to cover tuition, fees, and a place to stay. And they try to make up the difference by skimping on food. And food insecurity is a real problem. We want to help one of our local colleges as they work on this very real issue. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
Join me in silence. There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter what you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah. This past November, Otis Bauman purchased one of our auction sermons. And this month, we are going to work with the theme that he's requested. Every November, this year, November 11th, in the room underneath us, mark your calendars, we will hold once again our annual auction, and there you'll have the chance to bid on a sermon, should you like. After today, you may choose that you do not like. But we have fooled Otis, and he has purchased. We met and talked about the theme that he wanted for me to discuss, and we will spend this month talking about this theme. But so voluminous was his knowledge, so learned the conversation, so thick the stack of books that he assigned me, that I said, Otis, there is more here to share than we are going to be able to get through in 3 Sundays in a month. And so I asked if he would also do some teaching around these themes. His teaching will be more expansive than the meditations that I offer you. So on the second Sunday of every month, from next week, September, through December, and then we'll see what the new year brings, Otis is going to offer a class at 9:30 in the fellowship hall, next Sunday at 9:30. His topic is going to be psychedelics, transcendent experience, and healing. Otis is a doctor with a specialization in psychiatry, and even in his retirement, still works with patients at our free medical clinic who are dealing with psychiatric issues. And he has delved into a rich exploration of psychedelics and experience and what that can mean for healing for some of us. I'm always boring, but in comparison to this, I'm going to be super boring. Come and hear Otis do the real thing next week. It is going to be unbelievable. I tried to read the books. It's going to be amazing. Otis has asked me to talk with you about transcendent experience. And so this month, we will enter into an exploration of what that means, what that is about. A bright light. In the great Hindu epic, the Mahabharata, a story that tells of the collision of families in a great familial and civil war, a story that spans a continent and generations, where weddings are made and broken, where truth-tellers and cheaters collide, where gambling throws the fate of whole families into chaos, and where people at the core of these conflicts question the meaning of existence itself. In the middle of this story, so vast that the volumes in which it is recorded fill whole bookshelves in libraries. So vast a story that in comparison, when British colonials tried to evangelize the Indian subcontinent, bearers of this epic in the Hindu tradition called the New Testament a pamphlet. So vast this amazing, complex story of human beings sorting through conflict, at its heart, there is a song, Bhagavad Gita, a song of heaven, celestial song. And this song, in its brevity, is a concentration of all of that vast expanse of learning to just the slenderest volume. It happens at the pivot point of this story of families at war with one another. There is a prince, Arjuna, and he rides out between the lines of a pitched battle and looks across at his enemies in terror. Not terror for his life. All of his adulthood has been a training for this kind of leadership, to be prepared to give his life in service to his people. It is his dharma, it is his duty, his purpose in life, and he is fully prepared. But when he looks at the foes that he will face, he sees cousins, uncles, people who are blood relatives of his. You might feel this way at Thanksgiving dinner. The poor turkey there between the entrenched lines of opposing views, everyone ready for blood. It's more relevant than first meets the eye, right? I have to deal with my siblings every week. He looks at the lines of his enemies, and he knows them. He knows them. And he recoils. He asks himself, how can it possibly be right for me to wage war against these people who I know? How can it possibly be the right thing for me to enter into conflict with people for whom I only wish the very best? Dirtbags that they are. You ever say that about the people across the table? He is torn between training and duty and familial commitment and a basic human impulse not to harm. And he reasons with himself, reasons with the most brilliant rationale until he can find no way forward. His reason leads him to the brink of his sanity, and he doesn't know what to do. How can any of this be right? If I retreat, I leave all those who I lead exposed to danger. And if I advance, I threaten the lives of people whose lives I long to preserve. And what happens to me in the midst of this moral complexity? How can I possibly choose what is right? This hero of the Indian epic tradition freezes in indecision at the ultimate moment of choice in this expansive epic. The question that he asks is the question that is fundamental to all of our lives. Is the question that we all will face when we go to lunch today and when we choose who we eat that lunch with. What should I do? Do I invite those dirtbags or not? Turkey or tofu? What do I do? What do I do? It's a question that you're facing right now. Do I stay or do I go? What do I do? And the job that we applied for. If we got it or if we didn't, what do I do? In the institution that we serve, full of its moral complexities and conflicts, do I stay or do I go? What do I do? The people that I love but who need to be confronted. And will there be blood between us when I do? What do I do? What do I do? This is the question of human life. We start, we develop consciousness, and at some point we end, and in the middle, it is our choices that make our lives. What do we do? Arjuna, this prince, at a moment of cosmic importance in the story of his people, looking into a question to which he and all of his training and learning and commitment and faithfulness cannot find the answer. What do I do? And he turns to his companion. Now, Hindu tradition has found in this companion an expression of the Godhead and portrayals of this ultimate moment in Hindu mythology present this companion in absolute splendor, a divine being of immense power, immense magnitude, of unfathomable depth and superiority. There is a portrayal of this on the front of your bulletin. The truth of the matter is that when Arjuna turns to his companion to ask, what do I do? He is turning to his servant, a fellow warrior under his command, as terrified of this battle as he is, but even more forward than his master, the person driving the chariot towards the front lines. Imagine how you would feel driving your chariot between these two vast armies. Imagine the sweat and the dirt, your heart racing. The question not only of what you should do, but what will the person who has command over your life do? It is this person, subject to his power and his will, that Arjuna turns to. A servant, no exalted being. And that the tradition makes of this charioteer a beautiful, brilliant, divine presence should make us question these stories that we've inherited and to wonder how institutions and traditions have tampered with them and altered them to make them more workable and palatable for those institutions. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to rip all of that apart. Talk about how institutions dominate mysticism and what we need to do to blow all of that up. These stories that we've received offer us immense wisdom. But we should look at them with sharp minds and critical eyes and ask, what's the real wisdom here? Not just what's the story I'm being asked to buy. No beautiful God, but a sweat-soaked, dirty servant, afraid of battle just like his master. And Arjuna turns to his servant Krishna and says, I don't know what to do. What do I do? Not some wise school counselor, not some philosopher back at the camp, not his teacher, just his companion in disaster. What do I do? And at that moment in the story, Arjuna's mind breaks. Some of us have experienced that, our minds splintering. And this story says there is insight there to be brought back into the mortal world. something worth sharing back in. Arjuna's mind breaks, and suddenly, in the poor body of his servant, he perceives ultimate reality. He says, "As I gazed at my servant, suddenly I saw his dirty, broken, finite human body expand with the light of 1,000 suns, as if I were gazing at 1,000 suns rising above the rim of the earth all at once. And in his person, I saw all of existence reverberate, world upon world upon world, universe parallel to universe, and multiverses beyond end. All life and death moving in one harmonious rotation in the body of this one finite being." William Blake calls it eternity in the grain of sand. Infinitude, the infinite, splintering his mind. And Krishna, from this state of expanded consciousness, speaks. He speaks in contradiction, in words that defeat the purpose of words. I am life and death. I am light and darkness. I am being and non-being. I am everything and nothing. I am all that is and nothing that is. Words trying to chase this mind-splintering experience of ultimate reality that this warrior encounters when the question cracks him open. What do I do? A question that pushes him so far he can't go any further, and suddenly all of existence is present to him. And the totality of non-existence too. The height of Sanskrit poetry, unable to say what this is or is not. Words canceling themselves out to just say, well, something happened. And he knows what to do. He knows suddenly the next thing to do. Just the next step. This experience of ultimate reality is an experience that if we listen, we can hear people talk about over and over again. It defies empirical measurement because it varies from person to person. For Arjuna, it was a bright light, the light of 1,000 suns rising at once. And somehow, the unreal paradox that so vast a vision would have for its purpose just to help that one human life know the next step to take. For the great Irish playwright and poet Samuel Beckett, author of Meaninglessness and Suffering, it happened on a dark night on a jetty in the midst of the stormy Irish Sea. Visiting his family and fed up with being cooped up in that house he couldn't stand, he went out into the darkness and peered over those waters of chaos. The vision of darkness that welled up in him, so total and powerful, this Nobel Prize laureate could never put it into words. But out of it, he created a literature of bleakness and devastation, of post-World War II suffering, that when we read it or experience it on the stage, somehow beyond reason gives us hope to just take the next step. I can't go on. I'll go on. For my father, in the tragedy of his best friend's death before they went to college, a high school student who had graduated and was headed into life, suddenly wiped from the face of the earth in a car accident, on a continent on the other side of the world, beyond my teenage father's reach, and in the total rejection of the religion that he had inherited and all the theology he had been taught to believe and to follow, came on top of a mountain, all alone, in the person of a divine being he learned again to trust. And for his son, equally wrestling with that familial spiritual heritage, it came at a gas station in North Georgia in the middle of a January term at Wofford College, driving alone into the mountains of Tennessee and Kentucky through coal country. No vision of the divine face, but an upwelling sense of emptiness inside of myself, so vast it was as if I could see the night sky inside of me, and a feeling of total peace and bliss that lasted for 3 days. Changed all of my questions about religion from anxiety and fear about afterlife and my future into wonder and amazement at the endless plenitude of human spirituality. For the woman whose hospital bed I sat beside yesterday, it came as a medical crisis in which somehow she could see all of the people attending her, frantically seeking to revive her, as she peacefully watched over them and waited to be called back into her living frame. These stories so different from one another. Stories we cannot beckon on our own. Stories afforded some of us and not others. Immeasurable. But each coming at a moment of crisis. What do I do? What do I believe? Is there a God? What do I do when I'm out of work? Should I go into that conflict that might break me? Do I stay in my body or go beyond? What do I do? And when that moment pushes us to the point that we break open, filled with darkness or light, the totality of existence and non-existence combined push us just to the next step, just to the next resuscitated breath, just to the next job application, just to the next day. Transcendent experience is experience beyond fathoming, splitting open human being to help us live our human lives one step more. And we can be challenged by that. What is it about existence beyond reckoning that would care so much what my dad or Samuel Beckett or a woman lying on a hospital gurney or me or you or Arjuna do. A vision of light and nothingness to render us sightless and beyond intelligence, so that we can figure our lives out. Just the next step. I'm not talking about God. And I'm not talking about not God. No, I see some of you saying, yes, you are. I'm not. I'm not. When I've told you for almost 7 years now that it's not about belief, what I'm talking about is experience. Calvin was a brilliant man, but he screwed us up for the last 500 years. And Martin Luther too. Because they tried to insist that this is all about belief. And I have beliefs. You do too. Even non-beliefs are beliefs. See that paradox? But what these experiences, including at a hospital in Spartanburg, South Carolina, this week, what these experiences are saying to us is, belief is just a path to something far greater and more essential. Something no words can contain. The counsel that I give, the interns and students that I work with, who are trying to figure out their life, is to try every day, in whatever way makes sense to them, to just touch ultimate reality. And you can see in the words of the Bhagavad Gita that we read, this doesn't mean worship of a god. Although if that's your path, please do that. Whatever is beautiful, whatever is kind, whatever is generous, whatever is good, whatever is brave. Think about these things. The great scholar of this paradox, mythology, Joseph Campbell, was asked, what is your yoga? What is your practice? And the Bhagavad Gita would say that Joseph Campbell's practice was called jnana yoga, the yoga of learning and knowledge. He just read books, book after book after book. And the work of the intellect carried him into the ultimate. There's bhakti yoga, the work of devotion. There's karma yoga, action and service. That was Arjuna's yoga. There is Raj yoga, meditation, contemplation. Joseph Campbell was asked, what is your yoga? And he said, 3 things. Good Irish whiskey, rare roast beef, and 10 laps in the pool every day. Whatever your path is, to push yourself to the breaking point with this one question: what should I do? Take that path until you see the light of 1,000 suns.
Please turn to 299 in our gray hymnal and join together singing Make Channels for the Streams of Love. from an interview by Bill Moyers with the scholar of comparative religion, Joseph Campbell, reflecting on the transcendent. I'm asking my husband, Rick Honenberg, to step in for Bill Moyers, the famous broadcast journalist. Joseph Campbell. We want to think about God. God is a thought. God is an idea. But its reference is to something that transcends all thinking. I mean, he's beyond being, beyond the category of being or non-being. Is he or is he not? Neither is nor is not.
What does that do to faith? You are a man of faith.
I'm not.
You're a man of wonder and...
I don't have to have faith. I have experience.
What kind of experience?
Well, I've experience of the wonder of the life. I have experience of love. I have experience.
Three things: good Irish whiskey, three other things. Next week, we celebrate Water Communion, where you are invited to bring water from any source, from your travels or from your home, that we will pour into one vessel together. Many streams of love filled to overflowing. Bring water for our service next week. Second, in a simple human frame, the light of 1,000 suns may rise. One of your two ministers got a haircut this week. And I want to encourage you to have curiosity and kindness, and to gently and with streams of love ask Anne, what is up with your badass haircut? The answer is good, as you can see, because she is luminous, like 1,000 rising suns. What should we do? This is the fundamental question of our lives. And it is the question of our visioning process, which we are pushing to the breaking point until our minds fracture, so that we find not only what program should we develop, or what staffing do we need, but so this place breaks open reality for the whole world.